opinions in order to ruin their candidate's chance of winning the election. And as I was speaking about earlier, how we were talking about in the comments section, and that somewhat has to do with social media. Sure, social media and places like the comments section can be a good place to become more informed on the opposing political parties' views, thoughts, ideas, and feelings about the election. However, it can also be a very toxic place because depending on which political party you're going to talk to, they might make certain assumptions about you just based on who you are as a person without even knowing anything about you, if you know what I'm referring to. I won't get into it too much, but
I know exactly what you're referring to.
Yeah.
And I think it can be a little hard to base an opinion on that, especially because they're so willing to brush you off as soon as they hear your political stance. And I won't lie, I've been guilty of this a few times. But I think it's important to keep an open mind, especially when conversing with people on their beliefs and why they believe that.
Exactly.
But yeah, while we're on the topic of social media, how do you guys find social media? Do you guys think it's like a good platform? Do you think it's helpful for people to share and discuss their political views? Or especially considering the age groups of social media, like a lot of young people are on there. Do you think it's a good platform to be doing that? Or do you think social media should just stick to what it's for?
I believe social media isn't the best source to gain knowledge about politics, but it can be a good place for people to discuss their political views or have an understanding as to why people have the political view they have. As Nick said earlier, social media is very toxic, or can get ugly and toxic
very quickly.
Therefore, it's so hard to have a straightforward answer to your question, Lupita. But if someone wants to keep up with politics or learn about it, I would definitely recommend looking into credible sources on Google. Because nowadays, most things on social media are opinionated, and people will only tell you what they want you to believe. Am I right? Or
Exactly, you're exactly right.
You're 1,000% right.
And
some social media platforms have actually tried to aid this issue. Have you guys noticed, like, how Twitter has been tracking fake news and deleting those tweets, and Facebook has really been focusing on trying to find the posts with fake news and
yeah, I've noticed that definitely. And just to kind of play off of what you both said, social media can definitely be a good place to speak with people with different views than your own and learn about the views of other people. However, I don't think that you should seek social media if you do not already have an opinion or a political view, because social media is a place where people can easily be influenced to believe one thing or another. Because, like Lupita said earlier, it's very, very filtered to just support one side and degrade another. It's never going to be just cut and dry, this is the facts, at least with most places. So I think you should do your own research ahead of time and then go to social media to seek people to have hopefully mature conversations with, and feel free to debate so long as it stays within politics and it doesn't get to anything personal and unnecessary.
Yeah, and you remember to keep an open mind, though. Like, go in with your own opinions and your own facts and support them, but also be open to the people around you and how they think and why they think those
Exactly.
things.
Go in being prepared for your thoughts and opinions to be challenged and for you to be ready to change your thoughts and opinions.
Yeah, and like I think that the point is not to put each other down, it's just to agree to disagree about things.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah.
It's interesting, Alexis, that you bring up agreeing to disagree. I've seen a lot of people who think, oh, we have different political stances, let's agree to disagree. But I don't really think that's an option in this case, because with all the movements like Black Lives Matter and the LGBTQIA community, it's very hard to agree to disagree when it's someone's life that you're discussing, and it'll affect someone particularly, whether it be close to you or not. And I don't necessarily feel like it should be agree to disagree. I think we at most should try to educate people as much as we can, and even if their views are different, just do as best you can. Leave the conversation knowing you did your part.
Yeah,
You know?
definitely. But as Nick said, like, people like to make the conversation more personal and like to put people down, you know. But moving on, I feel like this upcoming election has been breaking friendships apart. Relatives have been getting distant. It's a whole new thing going on.
This election really seems to be one of the toughest ones that I've heard about or I've experienced.
Yeah, definitely. And I personally have, I don't know how to word this, but cut off a couple of friends due to their views, not necessarily political, but because of certain views that tend to correspond with political views and views that I personally do not agree with.
I agree, Nick. Honestly, I've become distant. I've knowingly stopped being as close with people, I guess you could say. I don't necessarily shut them down because they have a different opinion as me, but I realize that those people are not necessarily the greatest people, whether it be more morally or just intellectually, to be kept around with.
Exactly.
You know?
And it is kind of sad because some of the people that I have met, I know that I hope they're genuinely decent people, some of them at least. And it just makes me so sad because when I speak to them about things such as this, it's just that person that I feel as though I know, it's just like it fades away in those moments that they're speaking.
I completely agree.
Yeah, because it's kind of like they are a whole new different person that has a whole different beliefs, and it's like, what happened to the old you? Well, not the old you, but you know.
Yeah, I think it's important though to remember, like, don't just surround yourself with people with the same ideologies as you. That's not a great way to grow in the long run. But don't really surround yourself with negative people either. Having different opinions doesn't mean that they're immediately terrible people, like Nick said. There are some decent people, but it's just you realize things about them, you know?
And it's not, when I find out that someone that I'm close with is the opposing political stance as me, political party, than I don't instantly think it's time to cut this person off. I tend to think, okay, well, why do they believe this? What do they think about the things that I believe are important, the things that I believe are human rights to people, and the things that people of that political party don't tend to agree with my political party. If that makes sense.
Yeah. And then like also I feel like that person also has to be open-minded just as much as we try to be open-minded against their beliefs. You know, it has to go both ways. But if one person isn't open-minded, then I feel like that's a whole different case of you know.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's very hard to have a discussion when it's one-sided.
Like you guys said earlier, the term agree to disagree, in some cases, that's okay. But I feel like in this case, it should always be agree to consider it. You don't have to agree in the end, but you should at least consider the opposite view.
Agree to keep an open
Exactly.
mind.
Yeah.
I think, yes. I think agree to disagree should be kept for whether you prefer coffee or tea, not whether you believe someone should keep their basic human rights.
Exactly.
That should
Because
never be brought into politics,
yeah,
ever.
because people's rights are literally being put on the line. People's lives are being put on the line. This upcoming election is really important to not only be informed, but also to encourage others to be a part of the change or be a part of the election and voting and stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm. And speaking about being a part of the change, there's something that we want to say to some of the people who aren't old enough to vote yet.
If you're 16 years or older, don't forget to pre-register to vote. And if you're 18 years or older, don't forget to vote.
And again, thank you for listening to the first official episode of Worst Case Scenario. And we hope that you tune in again next week.